I thought they were calling you Ray.
Gene.
Gene. All right. Gene, you were the, I believe you were the only press fan in the auditorium when Malcolm X was shot.
Yes, that's correct. I went as an individual.
Is that how you happened to get in?
Well, today's my day off, and as a reporter, I'm naturally interested in current events. And this being the tense kind of situation in this part of town that it is, I decided that I would attend today, not as a reporter, but as a private citizen.
Well, just what happened?
You mean when Malcolm was shot, I assume?
Exactly.
I was sitting in the front row, right in front of Malcolm, in fact, and he came out on the stage. The introductory speaker turned over the platform to him, and he raised his hand in a Muslim greeting, Salam Alaikum. At that point, I heard a rumbling behind me, and I'm sure everyone else did too, and I turned around in my seat to see what it was. And then we saw, I saw two guys standing up, and the next thing, my next impression, it all happened very rapidly, as you can understand, is of the gunshots. And I saw Malcolm had his hand up. He said, stay cool, stay calm, or something like that. And just then the gunfire went off, and his hand was up. I remember this. I turned around quickly, and the next thing I saw was Malcolm falling back in a dead faint. Right after that, of course, like everybody else, chairs were being knocked over. There were screams. Everybody was in a mad confusion. I dove for the floor and scrambled behind a rampart on the side. My first impression was, of course, as a reporter, to get to a telephone and file my story. And I started crawling towards the back of the auditorium, and I incidentally saw a guy running out, evidently one of the perpetrators running out, and he was shooting like a cowboy all over the place. And of course, the shots were going off wildly. And after that, there was pandemonium in the place.
How many shots did you hear? Do you know?
I can't give you an accurate number, because I just wasn't that observant. But I would say I heard at least 8 shots fired. First, about 3 rapidly, and that's clear because Malcolm, I understand, was hit about 3 times. And then afterwards, when they were trying to get out, I imagine they were trying to scare everybody out of their way. There were many gunshots fired.
Did you see the man who fired the shot?
When you say see him, I didn't record a distinct visual impression of anyone. I just remember seeing someone fleeing. I couldn't identify anyone. No.
Well, how many people would you say had guns that were firing in there?
Well, I am told that there were 2. Mind you, I didn't see the perpetrator shoot Malcolm. I was looking at Malcolm when he was hit. I didn't see the person who was firing. I was facing Malcolm at the time the bullets went off.
Now, what about the man who shot him? I understand somebody was picked up outside or shot outside.
I was inside. I could not verify that for you.
Hugh, I wonder if you would repeat the first part, your eyewitness part.
You lived here in Harlem?
Yes, I do.
Were you in the auditorium at the time?
No, I wasn't in the auditorium.
No. Well, what do you think about this shooting of Malcolm X?
I think it's a real terrible thing that they shot this man who's been overseas, and it's bad public relations, bad publicity for the United States, for a man to come back from abroad that's been over there with all those peoples and come back to the United States and have to be, I call it assassination.
By whom?
Well, assassination, I'm presuming that it come from the object side, that whom he was with, which they burned his house. And they burned his house, and from what I heard from a rumor that he said he didn't want no protection. But I think that the man should have had protection. I think so. Definitely in the, and if not by New York Police Department, is by the Audubon Ballroom. I think that they should have had protection. And second of all, this year, I don't think that they should have had a gathering
Do you think the black Muslims are responsible?
I wouldn't put it on the black Muslim, and I'll say this here that I don't know whom did it, but I say that it's a very, very bad thing for Harlem, because at this moment we're just getting over the ride that they had, and now with this starting off, this makes it worse. You understand?
What do you think that's going to do to Harlem?
Well, they're definitely going to have to fight now because Malcolm is dead. This is nearly as bad as when they assassinate the President of the United States.
Roll me an introduction on this. This is the Assistant Chief Inspector
Harry Taylor.
Either we do this all together.
All right, well, let's do it right then. Are we rolling?
Inspector, could you tell us about the two men that you have...
Now let's start from the beginning. All right. Okay. All right. Chronology. You want the story? I'll give it you.
All right.
Okay, that's right.
All right.
All right. You ready? Ready? Roll. Chief, could you describe what happened here today?
At about 3:15 p.m. This afternoon, there were about 400 persons present in the ballroom here, representing an organization known as the Afro-American Unity Organization, headed up by Malcolm X. And Malcolm was addressing the audience from the speaker's platform when suddenly, apparently, two men approached the speaker's rostrum and discharged shots at him from apparently very close range.
How many shots were there, Chief?
Apparently there were at least 8 or 10 shots fired, 7 of which hit Malcolm.
Were they all pistol shots, sir?
I'm not certain at this time whether they were all pistol shots. We did recover a sawed-off shotgun near the speaker's platform.
On the stage itself, sir?
No, in front of the stage, down on the floor.
Where was Malcolm hit?
He sustained one shot in the lower right chin, and the other 6 hit him in the chest and body.
Was he dead immediately?
No, he wasn't dead immediately, but expired very shortly thereafter.
How many men are known to have fired these guns, Inspector?
It would appear that there were at least 2 men.
Now, what happened after this, Inspector? After Malcolm was hit?
Well, of course, apparently there was a great deal of confusion in the hall, and everyone was trying to get out.
Was anybody else hit?
Yes, there were 2 other persons who apparently were spectators who sustained gunshot wounds. One, a Mr. William Harris, address unknown at this time, sustained a gunshot wound of the abdomen, and a William Parker sustained a gunshot wound of his right foot. He lives at 2305 30th Avenue, Astoria, Queens.
Are you convinced that both of these men had no part in the conspiracy to kill Malcolm?
This is still under investigation. I wouldn't be able to answer
Now,
that.
the 2 men who
definitely.
fired the shots, Inspector, what happened to them?
Well, we have 2 suspects in custody now. Whether
Where were they
men who
arrested?
fired the shots?
I wouldn't know that at this time.
Where were they arrested, sir?
One of these men was arrested on the street by one of our patrolmen close by.
There were no police at this meeting, were there, Inspector?
There were no uniformed policemen assigned inside this ballroom.
What about the skirmish that apparently took place before? What has that got to do with the apparent killing?
It might have been a diversionary tactic.
What was this skirmish about?
I wouldn't know that.
Have you found eyewitnesses to be cooperative in this area?
I wouldn't know that at this time.
Yes.
These persons have not been fully.
You're now rounding up eyewitnesses.
We are in the
completing your story.
We are in the process of conducting our investigation.
Chief,
now.
you said your men picked up one suspect outside the Audubon ballroom. Where did they pick up the other suspect?
The other man was picked up right here in front of the building.
In front of the ballroom also. So both of them
Right.
were picked up outside.
Right.
Inspector, is it known whether these men belong to the Black Muslim?
I have no way of knowing that at this time.
But that facet is under investigation.
Yes, it is.
I understand that Malcolm X has just agreed to have a television debate with Elijah Muhammad, the head of the Black Muslim movement, just before this meeting. Do you know anything about
I
that?
know nothing about that.
Inspector, it has been
Elijah Muhammad has given the order to his followers to see that I am crippled or killed. But this
Have any cameras been in there at all?
I was sitting in the first row when Malcolm came out. The stand had been turned over to him by the introductory speaker, and he raised his hand in the Muslim greeting, Salam Alaikum, like this, his right hand. At that point, rumbling broke out behind us, and everybody in the place naturally turned around to look. You understand that the situation was tense because of the bombing of Malcolm's house and so forth. And everybody jumped up to look, and of course, I remember a chair had been knocked over back there. And I saw two guys like looking at the floor. And then my next impression was I turned around to look at Malcolm, and I remember him saying, "Stay calm, stay cool." And I remember hearing over my right shoulder the gunfire. And then Malcolm's hand was up like that, still in the greeting and still exhorting everybody to stay calm, when he fell backwards in a dead faint. He just slumped.
apparently there were at least 8 or 10 shots fired, 7 of which hit Malcolm. He sustained one shot in the lower right chin, and the other 6 hit him in the chest and body.
How many immediately?
No, he wasn't dead immediately, but expired very shortly thereafter.
We don't want you to kill my own self. We don't want you to put yourself. You see that? I'll kill myself. If you think you can involve me, I'll kill me now. I don't want to involve you. Oh, where the hell were you when this damn thing happened anyway? Where you were when it happened. Now, don't get me started because you can't. Man, don't get me. Now, don't tell me I don't know anything. Now, you and nobody else going to kick me any goddamn.
Oh, we only asked.
Huh?
We only asked. All right, we only asked. Just ask.
You think I won't kill myself? I'll do it.
No, that's not here.
I can't give you an accurate number, you know, because I just wasn't that observant. But I would say I heard at least 8 shots fired. First about 3 rapidly, and that's clear because Malcolm, I understand, was hit about 3 times. And then afterwards, when they were trying to get out, I imagine they were trying to scare everybody out of their way. There were many gunshots fired.
Did you see the man who fired the shots?
When you say see him, I didn't record a distinct visual impression of anyone. I just remember seeing someone fleeing. I couldn't identify anyone. No.
Well, how many people would you say had guns that were firing in there?
Well, I am told that there were 2. Mind you, I didn't see the perpetrator shoot Malcolm. I was looking at Malcolm when he was hit. I didn't see the person who was firing. I was facing Malcolm at the time the bullets went off.
Now, what about the man who shot him? I understand somebody was picked up outside or shot outside.
I was inside. I could not verify that for you.
Hugh, I wonder if you would repeat the first part, your eyewitness part of that, as you saw it. You were the only newsman in the place.
Who were you with, can I ask?
ABC.
Fine. Yes, I was WMCA Radio, and I didn't go as a reporter. I went, since I'm interested in current events, on my day off. Everybody knew what had happened, and there was screaming and pandemonium. I hit the floor and started doing kind of dog crawl towards ramparts, and because at all this time, the gunfire was still going on, you see, and I was in what would have been the range of the gunfire, and just like everybody else, the first impression was to hit the floor. So I did that and got behind a rampart, and as fast as I could, got to a phone and filed my story.
How many shots were fired, would you say, offhand? Dozens, or?
I wouldn't say dozens. I would say I can accurately say at least 5 to 8.
5 to 8.
Would you estimate were in the auditorium at the time?
I would estimate about 2,000.
And Malcolm had no opportunity to say anything to address the crowd other than
the only words that he said were "Shalom Aleichem" and "Stay calm, stay cool." Those were his last words.
Now, did you see anybody fleeing from the hall after these shots had been fired?
Yes, I did. If you ask me to identify the person, though, I cannot do that. I just saw a back, that's all. And I saw the fellow firing as he left the auditorium.
How long had the meeting been going on before Malcolm appeared and started to address?
The meeting had gone on for about 20 minutes. I don't know the name of the introductory speaker, but he spoke for about 20 minutes or so before...
were these shots from pistols or rifles?
Pistols. Yes.
Was Mrs. Malcolm X up there on the dais with him, or up there on the platform?
She was at the side with her children.
Was she in the auditorium itself, or was she up there on the platform?
Since I wasn't observing her that closely, I would hesitate.
How many people were on the platform at the time?
Oh, Malcolm was alone at the time. Of course, his usual guards were about him.
How many?
I would say, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guards around about him. But of course...
Were they hit too?
No. Everybody was surprised. Nobody was expecting it. The police, the audience, no one was expecting it. It was a complete surprise.
Was there any protection in front of him? Was there a rostrum or anything at that time?
Yes, there was a rostrum in front of him, but he was hit in the chest. I myself saw when they carried him out. I saw blood marks on his undershirt and powder burn. I remember that. And he was unconscious, of course, on the stretcher.
You couldn't tell whether he was dead or not at that time.
He looked rather sallow.
Yes, I see. What other excitement was there in the hall at the time?
What other excitement? I don't think I've experienced a more exciting situation in my life. It was screaming.
Pretty terrifying.
Everything that you could imagine that would happen. It was like the first thing I could think of was Kennedy's assassination.
Yes.
It was like that.
Yes. Well, thank you, Hugh Simpson.
It's Gene Simpson.
Gene Simpson,
Right.
I beg your pardon. Gene.
That's correct.
Gene Simpson.
Right.
You're about the only eyewitness newsman then in the hall at the time.
That is right. That is correct.
Thank you very much, Gene.